Right, so what are the news stories that are making headlines around the world today? We are looking at Kenya as well as Tanzania, which are now at the center of global attention after newly released U.S. Justice Department records linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein included multiple references to both the East African nations of Kenya and Tanzania in the context of his alleged trafficking network and international travel planning. According to documents published this week under the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act, Kenya and Somalia were flagged in portions of the files tied to concerns over pedophile activity, while Tanzania and Senegal appear primarily as transit points within alleged trafficking routes, though no formal criminal findings have been made against officials in those countries. The sprawling material comprising millions of pages of emails, photos, and correspondence reignited scrutiny of Epstein's global footprints in Africa, as Africa itself appeared more prominently than in past releases. The latest disclosures from the Department of Justice in the United States, which includes more than 3 million pages, 180,000 images and over 2,000 videos, referenced East Africa locales in multiple contexts. In the newly public material, Kenya and Somalia, for example, are mentioned in sections where investigators flagged them as related to sexual exploitation concerns. Tanzania and Senegal are listed in the communications as geographic transit points within alleged trafficking routes. Coastal towns like Malindi and Mombasa in Kenya appear in travel itineraries and group discussions among Epstein's associates. Some of the most unsettling passages in the file include private messages about travel plans that casually veer into disturbing territory, such as one exchange referencing bribing a little baby buck, boys and girls from Kenya, a remark that has drawn global rebuke. However, diplomats and analysts caution that inclusion in the files does not mean that there is evidence of wrongdoing by government officials both in Kenya, Tanzania, or elsewhere, emphasizing that many entries are logistical in nature. Now, how did these files become public? The deluge of material stems from the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a law passed by the U.S. Congress in late 2025, requiring the Department of Justice to publish all unclassified records related to the investigation into Epstein's crimes and his network. Signed into law in November 2025, on the 19th of that month to be precise, the statute mandated the DOJ, or Department of Justice, to release a comprehensive, searchable database of documents, including flight logs, emails, and investigative materials. Now, critics, survivors, as well as lawmakers have since spurred with the Department of reduction decisions and the pace of disclosure.
Good morning. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law on November 19th, 2025, directing the Department of Justice to produce all documents, files, records, videos, and images related to the investigations and prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
The recent public posting has triggered sharp reactions from multiple fronts. For example, survivors of Epstein's abuse have condemned the disclosure, arguing that insufficient redactions exposed personal data, including names and photos of victims. Some lawmakers have characterized the release as incomplete, pointing to hundreds of thousands of pages still withheld or heavily redacted, sparking accusations of what is referred to as obfuscation. Internationally, coverage of the Kenya and Tanzania mentions has put pressure on regional leaders to clarify the context and respond to public concern. Advocates say that transparency efforts is a necessary step towards accountability, even as the debates continue over what material remains sealed and why. Experts and local journalists stress that while these references are newsworthy, the mere appearance of Kenya or Tanzania in the files does not amount to verified criminal involvement by those nations or their officials. The mentions largely revolve around travel planning, accommodation arrangements, as well as socio-logistics for high-profile guests, as well as discussions of possible destinations, including luxury islands such as Tanzania's private Mnemba Island, rather than direct operational evidence of abuse networks. The stories emerge from the files reflecting the global nature of Epstein's reach and his circle's international movement, rather than a confirmed activity centralized within East Africa. Why does this matter? Public scrutiny of Epstein's network has grown steadily since his arrest in 2019 and subsequent death in custody. The continued release of documents under the Transparency Act, which has already produced the most extensive public release of material in the case to date, promises to deepen understanding while raising fresh questions about power, exploitation, and accountability. For communities in East Africa and globally, the focus now turns to distinguishing alarming references from verified allegation, while demanding clarity on how such international networks operated and how vulnerable populations were affected. If you have gotten this far, thank you very much for watching this video. If you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If you are new, please subscribe to this channel, and also comment down below whatever you think about what we have been talking about, as well as click on the notification bell so you get to know what is going on this channel. A lot of material coming your way. You get the news fresh from the source right here on this channel. Once again, thank you so much for visiting us right here. And remember, the keywords are subscribe, share, comment, and come back. For now, we say goodbye and God bless.